Welcome to the Under Construction Podcast with me, Martin Williams. Here we talk about how to build or rebuild your life one step at a time. Let's get to work. And hello, and thank you for tuning in to the Under Construction Podcast. My name is Martin Williams. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. You may do so on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and SoundCloud. All the links to the podcast can be found at guidedexpressions.com/podcasts with an S. Today, what I wanted to talk to you about is our continuing journey through the science of getting rich. We are on day 8, and this particular day, we're going to talk about how to use the will. So if you've been going through this book with me, if you've been on this journey, first of all, I want to thank you for continuing on with me. And if you have been continuing with me, you would know that we've been talking a lot about the mindset. We've been talking a lot about thinking in a certain way. We've been talking a lot about the formless substance and the thoughts that we put in that formless substance, and really paying attention to what we think, the thoughts that are leaving our mind and going out into this formless substance. And people call it the universe. Some people call it God. I call it God. But whatever you want to put on that formless substance, as far as a name is concerned, there is this entity that takes our thoughts and forms what we experience as life. And if we aren't careful, if we aren't mindful of the type of thoughts that we put out into the atmosphere, our lives can, grow to be something that is not very pleasant. And a lot of unhappy people don't really pay attention to what they think on a continual basis. So a lot of what we've been talking about up to this point is really about mindset and how to think and what to think in order to get what it is you want. Now, the science of getting rich is really talking about getting rich, but not just in a financial sense, getting rich in mind, body, and soul. It is about enabling you to live your fullest expression, which is really what boils down to be one of my main missions in life, is to not only experience my full expression, but help people experience theirs as well. And the way you do that is to get rich on all 3 of those planes. Okay? So today, our subject is how to use the will. We all have a will. We all have the ability to use our willpower in whatever direction we so choose, but like anything else, it needs direction, and we need to understand what are the best uses of our will. So Wallace Wattles, who is the author of The Science of Getting Rich, delves right into it. And he says, you have no right to force someone to do something, or to try to force someone to do something. And in doing so, you violate spiritual law. Now, the good news is you don't have to do that. Okay? You don't have to force anyone to do anything. First of all, in my opinion, I don't think you can really force anyone to do anything, at least on a consistent basis. And I don't, certainly I don't think that that's right either, because it's slavery, right? You're saying to someone, well, you better do this or else. And it takes something away from that person, and it takes something away from you as well. God created all of us to have our own free will. So you may be in a situation where you're married, and you might be with someone who, maybe they're not doing what you want them to do, whether it's, buy you flowers, or, get a job, or, help out more around the house, whatever the case may be. You can't force that person to do what they don't want to do. If they don't want to do it, then they're not going to do it, right? A better way to approach that is to think in a certain way and put your thoughts into the formless substance. And, whatever it is you want them to do, is designed to solve a problem, right? So think about that problem being solved. Let's say you're with someone or living with someone and they won't work, right? So that's putting financial pressure on you. The way to approach this is to say, okay, I'm going to put the thought of financial ease into the atmosphere. I'm going to put the thought of financial abundance in the atmosphere. I'm not going to think in terms of lack and scarcity anymore. I'm going to think in terms of financial abundance, overflow of finances, overflow of resources. And when you do that, right, what happens? The universe gives that back to you. God gives that back to you, and he gives it to you in the form of an opportunity most of the time. Most of the time, that answer doesn't always come with a $100 bill, gift-wrapped money. No, it usually comes in the form of an opportunity. So you may have an opportunity to make more at your current job, or you may have an opportunity to make more in a side hustle or what have you. But that's the answer to your problem. And you're not making that other person do something that they don't want to do. Now, you may still feel like, well, they should be doing something. Now you've involved the ego, and that's just going to weaken you, right? Everybody's on their own path. So you don't have a right to force someone to do something that they don't want to do, okay? And this also works in sales. Now, a lot of times, we may have learned that, there's certain things that you have to say in order to get a customer to buy. And in reading this really doesn't line up with that, right? Because you're trying to coerce a person to do something that they otherwise will not do or does not want to do, But you don't have to do that either, because why do you want to make the sale? You want to make the sale so you can make money. You want to make money so you can live your fullest expression. Why not just go to the source, which is your mind, and say, I'm going to live my fullest expression whether I make the sale or not. And in doing so, you're no longer putting your pressure on yourself. You're no longer putting pressure on that other person. And if they want to buy, that's great. But if they don't, that's great too, because you've already put the thought out that this thing is going to happen for me in my life, and I'm going to live at the level of expression that I desire. Waddles goes on and says, you don't have to coerce God to do anything for you either, which is great, because I don't see how you make God do anything to begin with, but that's less pressure on you. You don't have to force God to do anything, because God wants to do it for you. God wants you to be blessed. He wants you to have not only what you need, but what you desire as well. Okay? The only person you have to exert your willpower over is yourself. Right? So as you stand your ground on your desires, whatever your desires are, and you decide that you're going to stand your ground, you decide that this is what I'm going to create in my life. I'm going to have more finances. I'm going to have more love in my life. I'm going to have more peace in my life. Every living thing begins to move to make that thing become true. And it's a beautiful thing to witness. When you are steady and continuous in your faith and purpose, and you hold your desires in faith and purpose so they can be taken up by the formless substance, they begin to materialize in your life, and they begin to materialize in ways that go far beyond what you can think, right? So Waddles goes on to talk about the importance of guarding your thoughts because they influence your beliefs. And this is a very important point, because we have so much media in this day and age. When Waddles wrote this book, you basically had the newspaper and you had books. And of course, you had word of mouth as well. But now, of course, we have TV, hundreds and hundreds of channels. We have the internet, which is an unlimited amount of web pages. We have social media. We have radio, satellite radio. We have, podcasts. We have all these different media forms, YouTube, all these media forms and all these ways to get a message across. But if negativity is something that, negative news sells. That's why the news organizations lead with negative stories 90 to 99% of the time, because it sells. And, we all know that bad news travels faster than good news. If we don't guard our thoughts, if we don't watch what we listen to and watch what we watch, it infiltrates our mind and infects our mind to the point that your desire, that thing that you really want, that you've been holding on to, you've been working so hard to hold on to that vision, to hold on to that dream, it begins to slip away because of all the negativity. One bad habit that I've had for quite some time that I'm finally working my way through is looking at social media like first thing in the morning. This morning, I decided not to do that. This morning, I decided instead of looking at social media, I looked at my phone to see what time it was. But I immediately put my phone down and I began to meditate. And I began to visualize the type of day I wanted to have. And lo and behold, I had a really good day, considering the amount of things that I had to do at work and the amount of things that I was, that I had to, face when I logged on this morning. My day went really well because I started the day correctly, right? So it's important that we start the day positively. If you aren't comfortable visualizing yet or comfortable meditating yet, read something positive. Read this book. Read Think and Grow Rich. Read the Bible. Read positive, life-giving things first thing in the morning versus, succumbing to what so many people end up doing, which is, social media, negative news, 5 o'clock in the news, 5 o'clock news, like 5 a.m. in the morning, should be banned. It should be, there should be a ban on the 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock news because, it's 90% negative stuff. And I'm not saying that, somebody is hurt or whatever, like I don't care about that. I do care about that. But what can you do for that person? In most cases, you can't do anything for that person other than pray for them. And, most people don't go to that place when they think about it. They just think about, oh man, it's another violent day in the city. All I'm saying is you have to be really careful about your thoughts and guard your thoughts and don't allow your thoughts to be so inundated with negativity that it becomes very difficult for you to hold on to your dream, to hold on to your goal. And then Waddles goes on to say, don't make a study of poverty, disease, or lack for the same reason. It will infect your thinking. Okay, so don't spend a whole lot of time looking into poverty. Don't spend a whole lot of time reading about poverty or reading about disease and reading about lack. We don't need to study any more of that stuff because we know it's out there. So we don't need to know it on a deeper level. Just decide, okay, these things exist, but I'm creating something different in my life. I'm creating abundance. I'm creating health, health for all my days on this earth. And I'm creating more than enough, not just for myself, but for my family. And then finally, Waddles reminds us that we become rich by creation, not by competition. Now, if you are someone that's in business for yourself or looking to get in business for yourself, don't think that you have to compete with people. Create something that is unique to you. You don't have to necessarily reinvent the wheel. Let's say that you want to open like a hamburger stand, right? I'm not saying that you have to, do exactly what a popular hamburger stand does, but you also don't have to, reinvent the wheel as far as a hamburger that, that's never been used before, unless that's something that's really active within you. Just put your own unique spin on it. It may be like a different sauce. You may, You may have like a special sauce that, maybe your grandmother or your mom came up with, and you decided, okay, I'm going to open up a hamburger stand and I'm going to use that special sauce on the hamburgers. And that is your unique selling proposition, right? But you created it, or your family created it, right? So I'm not competing with McDonald's. I'm not competing with Burger King. For one, they are billion-dollar corporations. But for two, I've created something that they don't have. And that's my power, right? And whether it's a hamburger stand or a book or a course or whatever the case may be, don't feel like you have to compete with someone who's already had success in this area, because you have a unique slant on it. And when you understand that, that is how you become rich. You don't try to become the king of the ocean. You find a little pond and become king of that pond, right? And I got that from Russell Brunson, right? Who is the founder of ClickFunnels. He talked about, when you start a business or whatever you're trying to start, look for ponds that you can take over, right? When you take over the pond, when you become the king of the pond or the king of the lake or the queen of the lake, right? You're not competing with, sharks in the ocean, right? You're the big fish in a little pond. So just think of it like that. Excuse me. You become rich by creation, not by competition. So that brings me to the end of day 8. Day 9, we're going to talk more about the will and the best ways to use it. And then after day 9, we're going to start talking about taking action, the action part of the science of getting rich. So thank you so much for listening and tuning in. My name is Martin Williams. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, like, comment, share, and I will talk to you soon. Don't forget to subscribe to the Under Construction podcast on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and SoundCloud. For more information on Guided Expressions courses and products, go to guidedexpressions.com/products.